Dharamsala is a highly captivating town in the upper reaches of Kangra Valley. It is surrounded by dense coniferous forest. The town is divided into three parts: the upper Dharamsala called Maklodganj, the middle Kotwali Bazar, and the lower Kachari area. The town of Maklodganj in upper Dharamsala is known worldwide for the teachings of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, which takes place here every year. The residence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the headquarters of the Tibetan government in exile are located in the small area. Dharamsala is the closest one can get to Tibet while still in India. This quaint hill station is home to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the spiritual and political head of the Tibetans inside and outside Tibet. Once a British hill station, Dharamsala received an influx of Tibetan refugees after the Chinese occupation of Tibet in 1959. Today, Dharamsala is a popular destination for Indian and foreign tourists, particularly those seeking spiritual salvation. The Library of Tibetan Works and Archives, more popularly known as LTWA or just Tibetan Library, is an autonomous body undertaken jointly by the Government of India and Tibetan government in exile and functioning under the direct supervision of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. LTWA is recognized by Himachal Pradesh University as a Center for Tibetan Studies in 1991. It was accorded status of National Library, National Archives, and National Museum by the Tibetan Parliament in exile in 1996. LTWA has a governing body as well as an executive committee. The governing body has 9 members, 3 of whom represent the Government of India. The remaining 6 are appointed by its chairperson, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. This board directs policy and development, oversees all major projects and departments, and provides advice and guidance for future library initiatives. The 9 departments of the library operate under the direction of the governing body. The Executive Committee of the Tibetan Library comprises 3 members, including its chair, all of whom are appointed by the chairperson or the vice chairperson of the governing body. In the early years of exile, Tibetan refugees escaping to India carried hundreds of books out of Tibet. On the arduous journey across the Himalayas, these precious texts were often guarded above all else. Once safe in India, many of these sacred books were presented as gifts to His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
아주 지다만 것들 아주 담아서 것들 지금 담에 좀 누리요 가자 담에 좀 누리요 때 지금 담에 좀 누리요 말이야.
With regards to person, as well as phenomena other than person. So here, their way of school that integrated
alleviate the suffering of all living beings, and then the special wish to take personal responsibility for doing so. So when great familiarity with these arises, and the wish to become enlightened for the sake of all living beings becomes and in the lesser vehicle, without the correct understanding of reality, one will not be able to go beyond the path of preparation.
In order to preserve them, His Holiness conceived of and founded the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives. The cornerstone for the library was laid on the 11th of June 1970 in the hill station of Dharamsala, North India, the heart of the exiled Tibetan community. In November the following year, the library opened its door for the first time, growing to become one of the most important institutions in the world dedicated to the preservation and dissemination of Tibetan culture. To this day, pious Tibetans circumambulate the library day and night in reverence to the sacred texts housed within. Located within the grounds of the Tibetan government in exile, Located within the grounds of the Tibetan government in exile, the LTWA is the official national library, museum and archive. Having begun life with two humble collections in Tibetan and English, the library is now a repository for significant collection of artifacts, manuscripts and other records, while also serving as a center for language and cultural education. It houses two significant libraries, a museum and an audiovisual archive, and a photographic and architectural archives. Holdings have grown to include more than 100 and 10,000 titles in the form of manuscripts, books, and documents. Hundreds of Tibetan scroll paintings, statues, and other artifacts, and more than 26,000 hours of recorded materials and over 6,000 photographs. The library's significant oral history project was the first outside of Tibet.
다른 원에 전에 전주기 모터 휴제 진다면에 가수 휴가를 수로 지어야지 이마서 콘든토티 캔삼테 사다지 말아지 가차 댕커말 소바 진데 가차 망고 티드네 가차 티야기 람수티 고츠오브레 다 소리발이야 되송아서 예수송 유베나네 페나 리모다 근데 콜라 칼라 칸삼 리뉴 차세 셈바탄 리뉴 테니 슝니 숭지 레저 스케네 두게레 조여 조리어레 시다 라천 샤스트 시아티 조리어레 아 다가나신 산제 쿠수 세템바 시아틴데 조리어레 근데 마도 소리베 땡큐 망고 조리어 마레 근데 차서는 마도 그게 케이기나라 도가 그 생이 좀 흉치에 요 말에 만서는 도가 탑이야다 탑순 좀 망고 요래 세상 얘기 가서 집에 망고 탑순 제 강가 탑 대기 요래 탑순 요래지 도가 그 생이 좀 흉치에 요 말에 그게 그난 아 세다 숨버지기 강수리베 생이 좀베 그때 지에 벽이 나는 조요 말에 소르도 다 벽이 나는 조르대베 가르했잖아 주다 송하기 제일 주베 징고르기 남샤스테 강가 조리요레 Dr. Pandit, we have decided धर्मशाला कंसेंट्रेशन के प्रांगण में ये लाइब्रेरी ऑफ तिब्बत वर्ल्ड आर्काइव तो जो सत्र के अध्यक्ष हो या निबंध पाठ करने वाले वो यहाँ पर आ जाएं और जिससे ये रिक्त नहीं लगे।
गोष्ठी का सत्र संपन्न हो रहा है, यह अत्यंत ही प्रसन्नता की बात है। इसके लिए हम आपको आभार प्रदर्शित करते हैं और आपकी हैं और होंगे और अभी तो आपकी जो देदीप्यमान आभा है वह यहाँ पर विद्यमान रहेगी।
Two quotations from His Holiness which you will all read there, and start right from the article. The title that I've chosen is Nature and Buddhism, Clairvoyance and so forth, which people categorize as, magical. But in the true sense, there's really nothing magical. It's only when you properly and systematically, when you are able to, peel the layers of the hidden, the nature, then you are able to face with all these mysteries.
Any, that in your song ring, so you been so cantam, and Canada, you shiri the moon, Jurgi Tolani, Tablam Dam, Canis Tola Saban and the other, Tanan Samjo Nanya de, and from a shoe more, Kishitan Jambala.
Amade Tonachin Butone and a pebble touches in Shui. To say, Ranchuna Rangi, Rubekin words. Rangi, you get. Is that not the Purizina and the Gation that the two Purged the two Juliet? The engine upon Uniana, Zawe Junian Digi, you get one engine, Yars, Janachik, Darum Shavana, Udu Sushana Mega, Sujana Mega, Suju, Junian Sama, Udu Sushi, and Yanga Jabremato, get you swing and get you so in Italian. These are can't to do it. Get you crown personality of the can't to do the memorable children. Is a Nyan to Mune Nyanyenda and the Sunini Porulia, Polu the Mima Chilichi. Did now we are spending me to the Nyabena, the Kiju Halandamas and Mebe now chat to her. The case which was. And hopes come that Jungle Chang, Chirama, wrote in the Pento Mendos, Kana, the last stage motto. So, cut out your name, then be the paper in Jingi, keep Yoda, and the chicken may Yingi Mason, digging me those much way to Charleston. Quiz and Sundo Hatola to Scotia. And one of the Cosetta, she sonta, Senator on the night, they go to Simbre to Sonda. Churi, Legongta, Chabon Bichan Trima de Charge. This was a Toma, someone a Sunday Shui.
Chando macha, chando
Weizsäcker, and he got PhD in 1955, and he lived in Europe for about 10 years doing research and as a scientist in universities in Holland.
Philosophy of science and Buddhist philosophy, that I have asthmatic trouble, severe asthmatic trouble, on account of which sometimes you will feel that I am not being very coherent. There is a book with the title The Tao of Physics by Fritjof Capra. This book was actually motivated by Heisenberg. Unfortunately, at that time, he would have asked me to say something on that.
The LTWA also publishes and distributes its own titles in Tibetan, English, and Hindi, largely on the topics of Buddhism and Tibetan culture. In recent years, another feather was added to the library's cap when it was nominated as a resource center for India's National Mission for Manuscripts project. As a center for education, the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives has welcomed scholars from all corners of the globe and has had a proud association with many of the world's most eminent Tibetologists, as scholars of Tibetan studies are known. Educational programs in language, philosophy, culture, and other fields of Tibetan study are run on a regular basis. Other educational activities include seminars and programs such as the Science for Monks project and the annual translation workshop.
Rindega Pyoji Pejo Khane Nini Jiring Logic Doling Larchi Seji Sujin Jinor Kongsa Chamgun Jaga Wombo Tamji Shanjing Seko Chimbo Chol Gosum Pyoba Chimbe Yuja Danji Jagar Tang Pyoji Je Partuyun Remushing Ni Churi Ki Deva Sabjing Du Tatang Pyoda Premissor Tuzu Nyantan Dede Shik Teshin Bekap Jagar Shungda Memangi Kadin Semi Jang Yobachela Samshiki Kungsor Kadin Sabatan Pagwiji Dewa Mutu Sadin Nele Ngalor Hingi Desin Shik Satsuji Hingi to Pit Patundang
Moyu Lotuki Mandukar Mata Jambar Sarji Rana Long de Murno Toji Chimbo Yuk the Jerayan Georgia Nipa Puji Shirik Kong Shangjong Bola de Qua Lersu Sawa Tasta Moya Now Shangjong de Po Yeman la Shangjong Shirik Jinzan Tala J'ai pas montant ba chur ni dbi Puji Shirik Poni Chongman la Ramjin Ki Topa Chayo
Bökin Debe Chongrabnan Loju Jikwala Misegi Tonanane Chalenanke Chummer Dabdang Loju Vichet Peju Chea Gitsik Tuyan Ranjung Gitache Chik Jema Ting Suwa Cha Songa Mato Pena Tandanganzu Jun de Peju Che Shimbe Loju Shibe Tsik De Tsik Kurangi Ngen Tsik Shebe Want Cherina Inji Kel History Siatang Jaga Kel Itihas Siati
고도인 차상 상와치게 용가와 선투마세 인지kel야 코로놀로지시알라 마술루지시아 디자리나 따다 대치아멘로 삼바로 갱고야인데 이무도
근데 시대 메는 나바서다 아니 강화나 봐 참으로야 아니 저스트리 슈아이 다들 변수간다 마 최시로 아들 저어 때때야 일이 다 두고 자진으로 브라마데 전체 즉 싹들을 제한 또 심주에 되더니 막주에 거수에 다 디사이 서로 다 가다 지 소소스 민도야 된다 내가지기 야만이 다지 가서래 첼시 계란데 지금 내게 교샤에 매버체 지 최저 대바체지 교샤에 매버체 가다 별미 아들이 전제수에 되다 가다 뒤거는 뭐는 가려거든 장부 장샤 로스도르 나와 강다 전시 소원이 강다 총신 멤버 멋들라 소원이 지기 다 총신이 멤버 멋들고 로스도르 내가 타네 자가钱 왔다 겐디 중샤 개념은 시작 봐서 개만 딱 뭐는 되게 좀 그렇잖아 개도 견사지 당근에 삼는 날이야 견던 거 삼니 직자리나 해서 로스도르 내가 말해 로초송 차자 개지던 거 삼니 자지 잡이네 해서 로초송 소리지 그 자주 님실 제가 그러나 개도 견게 계신 매체 그 발에 중복 자주 해서 로스도르 내가 다 로스도르 내가 타네 자주 전에 강 중하고 시사를 제가 변 생기 당시에 잡이네 그 당시에 제가 그러나 로스도르 내가 당시에 그 팬을 가리면 되게 매체 당시에 니 살을 제가 야 로생시 단들 팬 같도 봐 나바 같도 봐 이 신의 제아시마도 당시에 제가 그러나 팬을 삼무지 제타는 집에이나 해서 로스도르 저기 아마 삼천 man wie die Schädige war, dann Nambeche Chingi, 자주 집에 그러나 남배추相关 샤체. 다디 임벌 주야지 미율 샤체. 아니 이거 당이나 사실이 로스오나 처음도 삼천 거예요. 다이 저냥 경험하는 상황로기. 아니 레어 주체. 아니 인 구도 야우체. 아니 쉬고 인조 야우수나. 때문에 뭐 팽그러. 그냥 말래 패봐. 아니 없어요. 투시. 됐죠.
조시송디 마시 고네 이치 가르치잖아. 당보 먼저 벽이 제럽도 마시 고나. 너라도 벽아라 벽이 제럽게 이자 만다와. 루 만다와 간디지 가는도 샤바 중요레스. 인지 노는 inherit. 너라도 파 아니. 저기 공만 매면 남선 내 종내를 봐라. 이자 간디지 가도 나와라 요레스. 당보 대신 개치 모래 텐딩이.
마게 펩수자로 가봐야 다 동직 제시하고 되지 인지 미직 국회 정부인단데 빠준체 돈이 안 비어졌어. 가능도 단지 송두갑 송식 나래 각 독스페서나 대인자 단당내자라 조대와지 과지 좀 같이 둔지직 요요. 이티가 남카시 양산도 좀 되는 요나. 이게 산이 비마도 이나야 이모 카시 제 좋아이나야 먼저 단지 초dik 차상하지 유예를 편도 제부인들에서 것도 뒤에 그学习
근데 다 개때 남의 돈도 잠을 시간 이제 잠에 저기 시간 이제 잠에 저기 랑 돈도 예 봐도 땅나 알아? 그래서 당고 요 보러 예 봐도 땅로 예나 아니 거기 롱디에서 시간 숨이어서 시간 숨이어서 디 잠에 저기 그날 값 가리셔 값을
보지 벤도 강강간 너는 던지 정도도 받더니 말람자면 흉마뇽 하고도 넘버스 내가 니마를 뒤돌리라 자지 무진간 정말 통정 맞지요 내 배받아 이 명탁관에 가지님이 누이는 높은 능리 나라서 특히 지적이에요 다른 데라 탐적 사바든지를 받아 소소 너도 가려 요바데 피팅도 야겠다 양직식의 특지제
Tam ti da shi
Dharamsala Pyug Benzu Kangi Drajur Rine Tola, Drajur Ribe Tola, and Subjun Nemi Jun Rings Natuvati Dambachita Puriwa and Tanashin Subjun Pengi Kansachidava Samalol Turasu Yung Resangdo Jazang and Penzule Lesuma Jushu Mombale Subjun Dijiti Katsumama Natuvachuna Yawatu Sangto
Penzu Kangi Pepe Chodan Rishung Minyam Junjin Che Dan Any Nyambalar Suche Any Lakbar do Zambulingi Chiji Minaka Donaching and Mangboji Yung de Giore to Zoljik Chodan Rishung Yandabach Sig Yandabangi Pejo Tanguedi Maranse Peo Lungonalina and the Yandawa Putagujaragi Kokap Chungju Chadiorda. Vechodan Rishungda, Chengag Sarmetan, any telebed, Lakbar the Jarab Sorovenata, Jagjo Sönebed, and the Hejam, the Suzuki, Tuzuki, Guhoda, Yamigu Guhoda, Samba Surgenita, Choji Shuji Javior. It will open to the gradually will make it available on online, and also people who want to buy CD they can buy it. But unfortunately that will be available only in Tibetan. But gradually we hope to select some of the important texts of the Buddha and get them translated. To the Buddha and the Indian commentaries, there are like 100. Is the task of transferring them on, DVD. So it's a lot of work. So that way this is much easier. But in terms of quality,
that's my. I'm always interested, but I can't promise Yes. So the Dalai Lama, are you doing them from the 1960s now?
Yes. Sisi naga masari patala. Dona ga semjoni tuye se aage, da tuye se aage, sik da thondi sisi na re jindala. ता नारायण ने कोने एक चिंत का शाना था बतिया
You have आपके पास ये means दो ला ये ला do it only means have. Kerang la nyungu do. Khang la thagle do. Na la get do.
Maybe interview with the Nikita Kari or and distant have to travel. Need setting. I want to music turn on Broadway. Music and what you are called anything. What from the
say a few words in response, which are going to be very stingy by comparison. It's really a pleasure, first of all, to be here. I've had interaction and I've done work at the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives for several decades. But the treaty does exist, and it is signed and sealed by officials acting in the capacity of Minister Plenipotentiary of the Dalai Lama, with full authority to conclude it, and this is evident from the content of the treaty. In spite of the equivocation voiced about it, it seems inconceivable that Dorjiev, as a signatory, would have fabricated evidence of the Dalai Lama's permission and then put that actual lie in the treaty, saying that he had been impacted.
The importance of science education for the monastics is cannot be overstated because as the monastics engage in their science education, this not only adds to a new chapter in the monastic kind of curriculum, it's a historic step in the monastic education system to bring science education in the monastic education. And this only, not only gives an opportunity for the monastic community to gain a knowledge of another system, the modern science, but also this is a very important step for the preservation of Tibetan culture, particularly of the inner science of the mind, because through familiarizing themselves in the science education, in the scientific concept and methodology, its a scientific paradigm, that it's the monastic community who will be able to collaborate and communicate the Buddhist concept and the practices to the greater audience, the world, the international audience, be able to communicate and collaborate with the science researchers and educators, and in that way that will be able to promote the knowledge, and a knowledge that really can find its contribution from the Buddhist tradition as well.
All our ancient texts, they start with a line which says in the Indian language. Then it is in Tibetan script, but it says in the Indian language, Arya Ashta, saying that this is the 800,000 verses on wisdom perfection. Now we have this Indian language right in the beginning, although in Tibetan script, to show the authenticity of this text, that it comes from the original source of the land of Buddha, India.
Yes.
It's only after that, then the rest of it is in Tibetan translation.
Yeah.
This is on rice paper, and these are all gold letter.